has seen a spurt of small factories like this one here. This unit produces 13,000 specialized AC components every month and employs around 40 people. The importance of small and medium enterprises in our economy is well established and their contribution widely acknowledged. Yet they continue to struggle on multiple fronts, be it a dearth of finance, outdated regulatory and labour policies, or access to a very creaky infrastructure. There are challenges abound for small businesses like this one, and it is starting to take a toll. Of the estimated 18 lakh MSME units registered in India, there are more than 5 lakh units that fall under the SIG category, with Uttar Pradesh and Gujarat leading the states that have the highest number of these SIG units, followed by Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. But the actual number of dysfunctional units may be much higher, as the total number of MSMEs in India, including unregistered ones, is estimated to be around 6 crore. MSMEs function in a highly competitive space and they require an enabling environment to sustain growth. So what are the key areas of concern that need immediate attention? These businesses have very limited access to financial support. In fact, only 30% of small businesses have access to formal finance, while the rest are either self-financed or supported by family and friends. They have to tackle obsolete labour laws, face shortage of skilled labour and have limited managerial competence, all of which curbs their potential to move ahead. They have inadequate market linkages and lack access to basic infrastructure such as power, water and roads. And last but not the least, they have limited awareness and access to new technologies, which leads to inefficiencies. Lack of easy, cheap and timely credit is considered the biggest hurdle for MSMEs. It is a multi-layered constraint which the government as well as the RBI acknowledges. So a new financial architecture needs to be put in place with special focus on lending to small businesses. And there are steps that are being taken by the policymakers as well as the financial sector to improve credit availability. However, this remains a very complex problem, and we do an in-depth analysis of the financing issue in our next episode when we speak to bankers and financial experts. For now, let's talk about the next big hurdle, labour issues. Most small factories and businesses are extremely labour intensive, but they lack trained and experienced workers. Small-scale firms find it difficult to recruit and motivate skilled managerial and technical staff, as they have limited capacity to spend on salaries and virtually no resources for training. Hence, despite being the second largest employer in India after agriculture, MSMEs continue to be plagued with difficulties related to their workforce. In fact, less than 2% of the total workforce in India is skilled, as compared to 70% in the UK, 75% in Germany and 80% in Japan. And as of now, there is a shortage of nearly 30 crore skilled workers in the Indian economy. The current day government recognizes this big hurdle. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has promised to make skills training a major plank of his Make in India initiative.
रोजगार के अवसर जितने ज्यादा बढ़ेंगे, उतना ही परचेजिंग पावर बढ़ने वाला है, हमारी इकोनॉमी जनरेट होने वाली है। हम कहेंगे ये आईटीआई आप ले लीजिए, आपको जिस प्रकार का मैन पावर चाहिए, यही लोकली आप उसको ट्रेन कीजिए, उसके परिवार की ताकत बढ़ेगी, उसकी खरीद शक्ति बढ़ेगी, इकोनॉमी अपने आप जनरेट हो जाएगी। एक ऐसे चक्र को मुझे चलाना है।
And the government plans to roll out a national skill development policy very soon.
When we are trying to achieve the export target, the two things are very much lacking. One is the infrastructure, and second is the skilled manpower. You know, SME sector doesn't have a training or a skill development center in house. They invite the unskilled people and they give the skill there to learn and to earn. But SMEs are not benefited from that. But now the labor laws, according to labor laws, they are providing some support, but it will take a long time.
There is an immediate need for the government to address the outdated labour laws. The 2010 report by the Prime Minister's Task Force stated that the complication in implementing present labour laws leads to corruption and lack of accountability. leaving both employers and employees at a stalemate. In fact, it is estimated that there are nearly 44 to 45 different labour laws at play throughout India, drafted by the centre and states separately, leaving employers and employees at conflict with each other.
Minimum wages is there, Factory Act is there, ESIC is there, PF is there. All these labour laws are there which are not being followed in the industry. Bonus Act is there, that is being flouted. All these labour laws are not. These are the main labour laws which are not being observed by the mostly SMEs and the industry itself. Now say for the Contract Regulation Act is there. Of course the government is taking a blind eye towards the violation of this Contract Regulation Act, and which has led to the increase in the number of the contract labourers now. And these contractors are very badly exploited. They are getting less than 50% of the wages which is given to the other workers who are permanent workers and performing the same type of the job. There also the Contract Regulation Act stipulates that no contract labour will be employed in a job which is of a perennial nature, which is of permanent nature. But even the government itself is flouting this particular law. So leave aside these corporates and SMEs and all that.
Better management and a better quality of workforce will help motivate new and talented manpower to join this sector. But what will also help raise the productivity of these MSMEs is fixing the many infrastructure obstacles that they face at present. Most of these small factories face long power cuts on a daily basis, interrupting their operations and making it impossible to fully utilize their plant capacities. Lack of proper roads and highways makes it unviable for them to source raw material and distribute their products to markets that are located far away from their factories. And a lack of reliable telecom network for MSMEs located in rural areas makes it difficult for them to access information. These infrastructural inadequacies hit the full value chain of a business, from sourcing and production to consumption and distribution, increasing their operational costs and making them virtually non-competitive. What also makes these businesses inefficient is the use of old techniques of production and outdated machinery and equipment. This results in low productivity and quality and a high cost of production, hampering their competitiveness in the domestic as well as the exports market.
Without modernization, without new technology, they cannot produce the quality product for international market. SMEs should, empowered by way of adopting the new concepts, the project management facility, the consultancy from the chartered accountant firms, project management firms, marketing firms, branding firms, so that they can get the new market, they can develop their market. And of course, we have started one unit called the SME Finance Facilitation and Knowledge Center. Through that, we are providing knowledge, hand-holding, support, organizing meetings with the bankers, organizing the meetings with the interaction meetings with the finance for the export promotion. We have more than 45,000 membership in different sectors, especially from the manufacturing service industry.
The new government has already echoed strong support for the growth of small businesses. But how does it plan to tackle all these issues? On the other side of the break, we hear the government's plans for the MSME industry and the policies it is drawing up to help the sector fight off these challenges.
So it will address the problem of the working capital.
Micro, small and medium enterprises contribute around 45% to the country's overall manufacturing output, and hence they are extremely important, especially for the government's Make in India initiative. The Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises has taken several steps, and we have with us Mr. Madhav Lal, Secretary at Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, to discuss with us what are the steps that the government has taken and how exactly is the government going to help the sector in the long run. Thank you very much, Mr. Lal, for joining us here on NDTV. MSMEs are very critical, but they are facing a lot of issues at this point in time. Let's start with those issues one by one. If we talk about access to finance, that's one of the biggest issues that they are facing.
So let me just say that MSMEs are facing problems, but also they are availing of a lot of opportunities which the global economy presents, and the overall growth of the country also presents, especially in the context of the vision which has been given by the Honorable Prime Minister of Make in India, of Digital India, even of cleaning India, cleaning Ganga. In every aspect of these activities, the MSMEs will play a role. But you mentioned about finance. And yes, for MSMEs in India and MSMEs globally, finance has been an issue. It's not just the issue of availability and timely availability of credit, but also the the cost of credit. There are also issues connected with receivable finance. There are issues which have to be dealt with in terms of equity availability for the MSMEs. So these are some of the issues connected with finance which have been addressed in the past and which will need to be addressed in the future as well.
We understand that your ministry has also come out with a draft consultation paper to come out with a new policy on MSME. Is that going to address some of the key issues which are there right now?
Let me say this, that we have a MSME Development Act which broadly defines the policy of the MSMEs, including what constitutes a MSME, what is the definition of a MSME. We have put out a paper to holistically review these aspects and other aspects. One of the things which is currently missing in terms of policy promotion from our side is how the service segment of the MSMEs can contribute even more, especially when it comes to job creation. From our side, one important measure which we have taken is to make the registration of the micro, small and medium enterprises online. And for that we have created a portal. Already a number of states have adopted that, and we are encouraging more and more states to adopt the online registration mechanism. Having done that, there would still be a lot of clearances which the MSMEs are required to take at the state government level. And I mentioned about the VAT, the land issues, the VAT, the pollution control clearances and so on. Now those are things which have to be done by the state government departments, and there are different departments which are doing those things. So we are in touch with the state governments so that their back-end procedures can be streamlined, and at the end of the day you have a single gateway through which an entrepreneur enters the domain of obtaining the clearances and gets the clearances through that gateway, which you can call in the old days called the single window.
Absolutely. So you're aiming for a single window clearance for all sort of problems which are there. The finance minister has spoken about a formal financial architecture, which is the need of the hour at this point in time. We understand that one of the source that all these people in this sector have is the banks. But when it comes to lending to this particular sector, banks are not really comfortable for a variety of reasons. Why do you think banks do not really lend to this particular sector, and without a collateral, even these people cannot approach the banks?
So let me put it this way, that a number of steps have already been taken to enhance the access of credit by the micro small enterprises particularly, and also the medium scale enterprises. Now there is a risk perception with the banks and financial institutions globally about the MSME sector. To address that, we have our ministry along with SIDBI is operating a credit guarantee scheme. So loans up to a certain value can obtain credit guarantee, for which a corpus has been created through financing by the government. Now that is one mechanism for mitigating the perception of risks with the banks and thereby to increase the fund. As I mentioned, I mean, there are various types of financing which the MSME need. One is to set up the enterprise, and in setting up of the enterprise, they may require equity or they may require credit. Now, in the simplest formulation, they may require credit. So, there are schemes to support that. Our own ministry is operating a scheme which is the Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program, under which a certain amount of margin money is given, and the bank fills in for the rest by providing the loans. In addition, there are other programs also. On another plane, MSMEs, which are already in existence, they require a timely supply of the working capital. So that is something also which needs to be addressed. Connected with that is the issue of receivables, because once the MSMEs manufacture something or provide a service to somebody, they should receive the payment in time. Very often they don't receive the payment on time, and that disturbs their working capital cycle. So what are the mechanisms that can be put in place? So the government came up with a factoring bill, and they have also come up with a guarantee system for the factoring services. So that's been very recently approved by the government. So these are some of the things, you know, I mean, venture capital, growth finance, and so on and so forth. So these are things which are happening in an incremental way. And I can say that virtually every aspect has been touched. What we need to do is to improve the efficiency and the quantity of these services, and we are talking about the financial services available to the MSME sector. In terms of the overall financing, there are certain types of MSMEs actually which are called the missing middle, you know, which are not receiving either microfinance or the regular finance. So that is another segment which should be addressed, I think, more satisfactorily than in the past. But having said that, a lot of the MSMEs are involved in doing job work. What we are also trying is to integrate, you know, aspects like productivity enhancement, better technologies in supporting the MSMEs being part of the value chains.
Right. The government is also working to change the definition of MSMEs. We've also heard that, you know, in terms of investment, some changes are being considered. How exactly that is going to help the MSME sector, and what sort of changes are you looking forward to?
Well, as I mentioned initially, what is an MSME is defined in the MSME Development Act. And the current definition, which was notified in the year 2006, talks about the investment in plant and machinery. So there are certain limits for micro enterprises, small enterprises, and medium enterprises
and
in the
manufacturing and
for the
services.
services segment. Now, one thing which has been represented to us, and which we also agree with in the ministry, is that what was the value of the rupee in 2006 is not the same as what it is now. So there is a change that is required. So we have in fact put it out in the public domain that what should be the quantum of increase. So we are in fact, as a ministry, I can't say because it requires a legislative approval and before that a cabinet approval, but as our ministry's view is emerging, we want to enhance this definition and roughly, let's say, to double the
investment in particular
in plant and machinery.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lal,
Thank
for
you.
speaking
Thank
with
you
us.
very much.
Next week, what are the reasons for the inadequate financing to MSMEs and what are the solutions for improving it?